Hi, I'm Micah Halpern. Thank you for joining me today as I do some thinking out loud. Our first segment is called Background Briefing. The first thing I've been thinking about is, why do Jews hate Jews? Or what others refer to as simply self-hating Jews. What makes them tick? Why is it that so many Jews deride Israel? It's a question I've been encountering countless times since the horrific day, October 7th, 2023. A question phrased in so very many different ways. It is a question that I'm being asked again and again. Now, in the aftermath of Israel's dazzling attack against Iran on June 13th, again, I'm being asked the same thing. Today, why is it that so many Jews side with Hamas? Has morphed into a movement of young people and pensioners, interestingly, who seem to hate what Judaism stands for and what Israel stands for. A movement that is empowered by their hate or disdain, their distrust, and their very own heritage for Judaism. A movement that stands in stark contrast to the values held dear by their mothers and fathers and generations of Jews who fought to live as Jews and fought for the existence of the Jewish state. While the Jews who hate Jews are in large number and louder, still expressing their vitriol, the majority of Jews, however, are lovers of Judaism and lovers of Israel. They're stunned. For them, the looming question is, how can Jews give credibility to the attacks on Jews and cheer on attacks against Israel? They ask, what are these self-hating Jews thinking? What are they hoping to gain? I take these questions seriously. If Jews see other Jews as self-hating, imagine what non-Jews are thinking. My answer to them is that the terminology is wrong. These Jews are not self-hating Jews. They don't hate themselves. They actually like themselves. They don't deny being Jewish, and many believe that their critique and attacks on other Jews and on Israel is very much what their definition of Judaism demands of them. I further explain that at its essence, what these groups of hypercritical Jews despise is Jewish Jews. What they cannot and will not countenance is proud Jews. Their disdain and derision is reserved for Jewish-looking Jews. In their minds, that category most certainly also means Israeli Jews. Personally, I do not use the term self-hating Jews. I do not encourage its use. Self-hating simply does not accurately describe those Jews who join in the pro-Hamas activities and attacks on other Jews. The term trivializes the impact of Jews who attack Israel for striking at enemies of the Jewish state and for strafing Iran's nuclear infrastructure. These groups, young and old, derive perverse pleasure from jumping on their high horses and proudly pronouncing to the world what we know to be their mistaken, self-serving, and thoughtless drivel. I select the idiom high horse for a reason. The meaning is clear. To jump on your high horse means to arrogantly look down upon those with whom you disagree. Once upon a time, one's status was tied to the height of their horse. The higher the horse, the higher their stature in society. Everyone who read and remembers Cervantes's Don Quixote, or Man of La Mancha, would know this to be true. Sancho, the sidekick, rode a small donkey, while Don Quixote, the hero of this amazing tale, rode a tall horse. The list of Jews who separated themselves from mainstream Jewish interest and sided with those who attacked Jews is both long and illustrious in history. Henry Kissinger is a classic example. In Walter Isaacson's spectacular biography, called Kissinger, a Biography, Isaacson quotes Kissinger as a prominent Jew as one could be in appearance in the background, as saying, if it were not for the accident of my birth, I would be anti-Semitic. The author also quoted the master of shuttle diplomacy as saying, any people who have been persecuted for 2,000 years must be doing something wrong. This, from the reverend diplomat who crafted the United States Middle East policy, foreign policy, and influenced the attitudes towards Israel of both Presidents Nixon, Richard Nixon, and Gerald Ford, that's troubling. The term self-hating Jew is not new. The expression was coined in 1930 by a controversial German Jewish writer, Theodor Lessing, in his book, Der jüdische Selbsthasser, the Jewish self-hater. Even before that, Theodor Herzog, the founder of modern political Zionism, was termed by some as a self-hating Jew. Maybe because Herzog celebrated Christmas and even had a Christmas tree in his home. Norman Podhoretz wrote about self-hating Jews, used the term quite often. For Podhoretz, a self-hater was a Jew who was unduly critical of Israel. Today, right now, there are many such Jews, too many such Jews who fit that category. We must brace ourselves. Their voices will be loud and their conduct unbecoming. But solace comes in knowing that those Jews are far outnumbered by proud Jews, by supportive Jews, by lovers of Israel. Coming up next, points of view. First up is a statement from Israel's President Isaac Herzog. He delivered it on Saturday, June 14th, 2025. It's entitled, Statement by President of the State of Israel, Isaac Herzog, to the international community. This statement is obviously about Israel's strike on Iran. He's trying to show the world and the international community why Israel did what it did. He says, for decades, the Iranian Ayatollah regime has worked relentlessly on a calculated plan with one primary goal, to destroy the state of Israel, the only nation state of the Jewish people. Their empire of evil took every effort to spread global and regional terror with its proxies, incite anti-Semitism, and above all, develop nuclear weapons. These are not just threats to our nation, but to the very fabric of peace and security in the Middle East and the world. He continues, Iran's ultimate objective is clear, to annihilate Israel. We must recognize the grave reality that nuclear weapons in the hands of a murderous ideology pose a clear and immediate threat to the very existence of the State of Israel and regional peace. Herzog now explains the role of the international community. He reminds the international community that they have repeatedly understood this and declared this issue. He says, the international community, understanding this peril, has made it clear time and again through a series of resolutions that Iran must not be allowed to obtain nuclear weapons. The world has been united in the belief that nuclear weapons in the hands of such a regime cannot be tolerated. In Israel, successive governments have rightly declared that nuclear weapons in the hands of our enemies present a clear and existential threat to our nation. And they have acted with resolve in every way possible to remove this threat. Now Herzog explains the fundamental issue of the need to stop Iran from gaining those nuclear weapons. He says, we are now at a historic crossroads, not only for Israel, but for the entire Middle East. On one hand, the threat of terrorist jihad that seeks to dominate the region, whilst on the other, there is a vision of partnership and hope for a better future and peace, what I call the day after. This is not just our struggle. This is the struggle of all who seek peace, stability, and hopeful future in the Middle East. I want to express my deep gratitude to the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, for his steadfast friendship and unwavering support for Israel. I also thank the countries and leaders who made clear their support for Israel's right to defend itself. Now Israel's president concludes explaining that the future will not be easy, warning that there will be some serious obstacles, and he is so correct. He continues, the path ahead will not be easy. I have no doubt, however, in my mind, of the immense resilience of the Israeli people and our brothers and sisters in the Jewish communities around the world. We will continue to face challenges head-on, knowing that once again, good will triumph over evil, and light will prevail over darkness. Thank you, President Herzog, for telling the international community how important this is. I just hope that someone somewhere listened and is listening. Next up is an editorial from the Jerusalem Post, published on June 15, 2025. Remember, an editorial is unsigned and authored by the editorial board itself. This editorial is entitled, Israel Acted, Now It's Time for Iranian People to Rise. Editorial subtitled, Zionism has never begged for survival, and it will not start now. The question is whether the long-serving, suffering citizens of Iran are ready to seize a parallel opportunity for their own freedom. This is a very important editorial. It instructs Iranians that they must act to oust their despotic leaders. This is how the editorial begins. Israel has shown the way. Now it's Iran's turn. For 46 long years, ever since the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini hijacked the popular revolution and erected the Islamic Republic, the Iranian people have lived under the regime that feeds on fear. In the past 48 hours, that fear shifted sharply, first to the men in Tehran's palaces, then to the missile crews who discovered what happens when Israel decides to act. Operations Rising Lion, the IDF's audacious strike on Iran's nuclear and military machine, has redrawn the strategic map of the Middle East. It has given ordinary Iranians a once-in-a-generation opening. The Jerusalem Post explains that Israel is united in this battle against Iran. Not the Iranian people, but rather the Iranian leadership. The Post explains, no less impressive was the speed with which Israel's notoriously fractious politics coalesced. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave opposition leaders Yair Lapid and Benny Gantz full briefings before the jets took off. Both men, who have sparred bitterly with the coalition on domestic matters, put out statements of unequivocal support. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and Labor leader Merav Michaeli rarely find themselves on the same headline. On Friday they did, praising the professionalism of the IDF and praying for its success. The J-Post calls on Iranians to rise up and seize the moment. It's once in a lifetime, they say. The editors write, rise up, seize this moment with both hands. Millions of Israelis spent Friday night in bomb shelters, exchanging WhatsApp messages with friends inside Iran, offering prayers and solidarity. We are not at war with the Iranian people. We're at war with a clique that murders Syrians, Yemenis, and Israelis, and Iranians every day. Zionism teaches that dignity is never granted, it's taken. Today, after the most daring Israeli operation since Entebbe, that lesson should feel concrete. The Jerusalem Post concludes explaining that it will not be easy, but Israel will help. It concludes by writing, the path will be hard, tyrannies rarely crumble overnight, but the IDF has exposed the regime's raw nerve. Its air defenses failed, its missiles achieved little, its myths are shattered. Even the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, felt compelled to promise revenge at a time of our choosing, a formulation that almost always signals weakness. Operation Rising Lion is not over. Netanyahu has vowed to continue, quote, until the Iranian threat is removed, unquote. Israeli analysts think further strikes on Fordo and Parchin are likely if Tehran rebuilds. The hope we extend now is to the Iranian people. Do not be afraid. The 46 years you have suffered is long enough. The axis of evil that linked Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Al-Quds force is much weaker today than it was on Thursday. Help yourselves, and you will find partners across the region, from Riyadh to Rabat and to, yes, Jerusalem. This was an excellent editorial. Thank you, Jerusalem Post. Coming up, commentary through cartoons, where pictures tell the story. I want to show you 7 cartoons today. Cartoonists turn news into art very quickly. This first cartoon is not negative. What a great surprise. It's anti-Khamenei. anti-Iranian leadership. It is entitled Khamenei Flabbergasted in Crater Nuclear Facility. The caption reads, The Iranian Nuclear Program. The cartoonist cannot believe that the Iranian leadership was so surprised that Israel attacked. You can see that in his face. But why was he so surprised? Did he not think that Israel would defend itself? If he did not think that, then he and his advisors were sorely mistaken. The second cartoon is typical. The cartoonist cannot help himself. It is entitled War Reigns on Trump's War Parade. In other words, the Israeli strike on Iran's nukes interfered with Trump's Army Parade, celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Army. Next up is a terrible cartoon. Bibi is on a missile headed for Iran, and the International Criminal Court is chasing after him with an indictment. The cartoon's entitled Israel Strikes Iran Nuclear Bomb. To think that Israel violated international law by defending itself is simply warped. This fourth cartoon is entitled Drones, Nukes, Iran, Israel, Strike War Button. The idea here is that Israel is pushing the button and declaring war in their strike against Iran. This fifth cartoon depicts Israel through its flag as a shark. It's called Israel Devouring Palestine. The shark, or Israel's flag, is devouring the small fish flag of the Palestinian Authority. Interestingly, the cartoonist did not depict the Hamas flag, which may have been more accurate, and certainly what Israel is trying to do, devour Hamas. In the sixth cartoon, which is entitled Netanyahu and the Domino Effect, it suggests that Bibi is destroying everything, Israel, Iran, etc., in the domino effect. One falls after the other. How crazy can one get? Israel is uniquely united about this strike against Iran. The cartoonist is simply wrong. And finally, this last and seventh cartoon is entitled Israel Against Iran. The cartoonist is saying that with the help of Trump and the United States, Israel is striking Iran and Putin is powerless. The most accurate part is that Putin is indeed powerless and Israel is striking Iran. Israel hoped and hopes that the US will help more. In a moment, more of my own perspective and a few predictions. United States President Donald J. Trump said that he hopes there will be a deal between Iran and Israel. But he also noted, and this is a quote, that sometimes you have to fight to the end, unquote. He refused to say whether he asked to stop the attacks on Iran and said that the US will continue to support Israel in defending itself. Iran has informed Qatar and Oman that it is not open to negotiating a ceasefire while under Israeli attacks. According to an official source briefed on the contacts who spoke to Reuters, quote, the Iranians have informed mediators that they will only engage in serious negotiations after completing their response to the Israeli attacks, unquote. The source said that they were speaking on condition of being anonymous. And they continued, Iran made it clear that it will not negotiate while under attack. The source also added that the media report suggesting Iran had approached Oman and Qatar, asking them to contact the United States to advance a ceasefire and resume nuclear talks is inaccurate. For Iran, it is always one-sided. The IDF Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, made a statement to the media against the backdrop of the war with Iran, saying, this is a historic and unprecedented operation. In the last 24 hours, we have completed breaking an air route to Tehran and executed aerial breakthrough. From the moment we launched the campaign, we acted with surprise and deception with the opening strike, eliminating the top military command. We will continue to increase the intensity of our actions, thereby strengthening our security for years ahead. According to him, and this is a quote, as I said at the beginning, there would be difficult events. We knew that there would be prices to pay, and they illustrate the reason why we acted now before it was too late. I promise you, Anyone who harms you will pay a heavy price anywhere and in any arena. If you have noticed, the locations of Iranian missile attacks on Israel are never shown or publicized. Even the background is often blurred so as not to help Iran correct their future launches so that they become more accurate and more dangerous. Now for a happier moment, a celebration of sorts. An Israeli winery has earned a spot at the most prestigious New York wine exhibition. Har Odem Winery, which is located in the small community of Odem near the Syrian border, will present its wine at the New York City event, which is regarded as one of the most exclusive in the global wine industry. This family-owned winery called Har Odem, located in the northern Golan Heights, is making history as the first Israeli winery invited to participate in the prestigious international wine exhibition, Great Wines of the World, hosted by leading critic James Suckling. Har Odem Winery, which is located in the small community of Odem near the Syrian border, will present its wines at the New York City event, which is regarded as one of the most exclusive in the global wine industry. And now I'm quoting, "This invitation is an extraordinary recognition of what we do and our entire team," said Michael Alfazi, 69, the winery's founder. He, his son Adam, will represent the winery at the exhibition. The winery was founded in 2003, so it's relatively new, and managed by Alfazi family, Michael and his wife Edith, and their children Adam, Ishai, Ya'ara, and Efrat. Is the highest in Israel's altitude of wineries, situated at an elevation of 3,480 feet above sea level. It operates just 1.2 miles from the Syrian border. She said the event offers a rare opportunity to showcase Israeli wines on the world stage. Quote, "This is our chance to tell the story, not through headlines, but through a glass of wine." It's a great quote. I say l'chaim. We've been thinking out loud about a lot today. Now that you know what I've been thinking, tell me what you're thinking. Email me at micah@jbstv.org. Tweet me at Micah Halpern. Tell me what you think. Before we end, let me leave you with one piquante piece of information. We are so involved with the operation dealing with the Iranian threat. We should never lose track, though, of the need to remember October 7th and the current war in Gaza and the need to bring home the kidnapped and destroy Hamas. I want to show you this video. It's a tribute to Ben Shimoni. He was a hero who on October 7th saved 12 people, driving them out of danger in shifts. In his last shift, terrorists opened fire and murdered him and many in the car he was saving. Those not murdered were kidnapped. Watch this video of Ben Shimoni. It is truly inspirational. Ben was a true hero. May his memory be a blessing. Thank you for thinking out loud with me, Micah Halpern. Let's think out loud again next week on JBS.